Good morning. I see. Can you hear me clearly? Hi, and
Yes.
colleagues, Matti. Yes, good. Okay. Good morning. I see we already have some attendees. Hi, Arlene. Hi, Elian. Hi, Mary Joy. Hi, Roland. Here you see already a preparation for our meeting that is to understand better your expectations. So we ask you in this time before the official start of the launch event, if you go to menti.com and you type the code 21889650, so you can start entering what would you expect from this webinar. Thanks. If you have any trouble in accessing, please use the chat box so you can type any issues you may face. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We see other attendees are joining. I ask you kindly to log into menti.com and type the code 21889650 to share with us what are your expectations for the meeting today. Thanks. thanks for contributing to the expectation board. We see you are excited to be with us, and we are as well. Thanks for joining to take time in this busy period to attend this webinar and share key expectation you have to have insights, to know about solution, information, to understand impact better. So really thank you for that, and feel free to add new expectation topics you would like to see today. Thanks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. See you are other attendees are joining. Thanks for joining a few minutes before. We thought to collect your expectation with Mentimeter, so feel free to log in, connect to menti.com and enter the code 21889650, so you can share, like your colleagues have done already, what are your expectations for the meeting. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's almost time to start our lunch event. Before we do so, for the attendees already logged through Zoom, please go to menti.com, entering the code 21889650. This will help us to collect your expectation for the day, what you expect to gain from this lunch and in future activities. We see already several participants entering key aspects related to global data, solutions, innovation, insights, impact, methods, data, prioritization, and this would guide the agenda for the day. We'll wait a couple of minutes and then we start. Thank you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. We see you have already a good number of attendees. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. We are starting in a couple of minutes. Before doing so, feel free to log in to menti.com using the code you see on the screen and share your expectation for today's webinar. Thank you. All right, so thanks everyone. We are officially starting the webinar for today. We have in the previous minutes where attendees were joining, we have collected some of the expectation from today's meeting. If you have some last minute expectation, please remember to menti.com with the code that you see on the screen, so we could collect your expectation and then handle it during the day where we spend this time together. I would like now here to see, I mean, you can already see yourself what are the key expectations from today, talking about innovation, solution, prioritization, how we shape innovation inside for global data, developments. Obviously, there is a lot of excitement, of interest that drives you to join us today. And that's the key for success on what all we do together. I will now ask to go to the first slide, moving the screen to colleagues handling the screen, and officially go through some house rules for today's meeting. Thanks. So today we are together in presenting and launching GloMIP with the overall objective of empowering and revolutionizing research and development investment decision through market intelligence. Next. My name is Enrico Bonaiuti. Thanks for all of you joining today. I'm the program manager of the Market Intelligence Initiative, and I'm happy to introduce you all the presenters today. Next. A few house rules for today. When you introduce yourself, when you include some comments in the chat box, or you would like to post some questions to the presenters in the chat box, you see that there are two different channels. One is the chat for general statement, and one is the Q&A chat box where you will write a question. We will answer both in the box and in the live session later in the day. And at the end of the webinar, we also collect all the Q&A and share with you by email. And also at the end of the webinar, we will ask you to share your feedback in a post-evaluation form. Next slide, please. Now here in the next slides, you will see an overview of the agenda today for these 90 minutes together, where we will have first an introduction message from the genetic innovation leadership. After that, we will look into more detail from market intelligence initiatives and having an overview of GloMIP with then a demonstration of impact opportunities portal. We will pause a few minutes for a wellness check and then hearing from some testimonials on GloMIP, moving then in the Q&A section and then hearing some announcements. And then closing the event. I would now give the next slide, please. I would like now to give the floor to Sonja Müller, Managing Director of Genetic Innovation. Thanks, and over to you, Sonja.
Thanks, Enrico, and greetings, everybody, on this very exciting day when we see the launch of GloMIP formally. There has been so much demand for this tool that is truly revolutionary. There's been so much demand that, in fact, it has already been widely used, both within CGIAR for priority setting, but also by our partners for their investment decisions. So we know we're absolutely doing something important and highly relevant here. Just like to make a comment both on the relevance and also on the kind of way that this can help us with our efficacy in our work. So many people look at crop breeding programs, including our funders, and they go, well, that's all very technical. And what's the connection to people? How do we connect this to the Sustainable Development Goals or anything we actually care about in our development agendas? And GloMIP provides the framework for doing exactly that. It enables us to translate, for example, from gender empowerment strategies into what we do in the crop breeding world. Or similarly, for investors who are interested in environmental outcomes or indeed really making the connection broadly between poverty reduction and crop improvement. So that's, you've used the word revolutionary in the title slide, and I think for us it is about that truly transformative step change in terms of connecting the work that we and partners do, particularly our NAS partners, and this kind of global agenda, the global agenda for change and for achieving the SDGs. Now, of course, what that tool can then be used for is to make a range of decisions. Some people have talked about priority setting and investment decisions, but you can also see that a whole set of other decisions can be linked to this. What geography should we work in? Which partners should we build up? Where should we be looking to the future? As climate change grows as a challenge, what might we be looking areas to grow our business? So the range of application is incredibly broad, and I think we've only just begun to scratch the surface of that. Where I'd like this meeting to end today is for those of you who are just beginning to use the tool or learning about it for the first time, please go away, start experimenting with this, using it, telling your partners about it, and also, importantly, giving your constant feedback to the development team involved. My message to the development team is, as you take this forward, please do also consider the sustainability beyond the lifetime of project cycles. This tool is too valuable to get lost, as particularly, say, the Market Intelligence Initiative transitions into a new modality as CGIAR moves forward. So with those words, just congratulations. I'm really excited, and I'd like to pass to my colleague Ian for further introductory remarks.
Thanks, Sonja. And I would like maybe introduce Ian on the next slide. Ian is Senior Director for Strategy, Delivery and Scaling. Ian, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Enrico? So I'm on my...
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good day, everybody. And this again, a very exciting day to see the official launch of this tool. Of course, some of us have been working with this tool and seeing it evolve over a number of years. I haven't really got much more to add than Sonia already has in terms of this fantastic tool that allows us to play these sort of what-if scenarios, invest here, invest there, the consequences of the decisions that we make in prioritization. The only thing I thought might be interesting to add, I remember in the early days of GloMIP discussing the range of crops that we deal with, and the decision was made to broaden the range of crops, beyond the core crops that the CGIAR works with, to include, for example, vegetables. And it is interesting at the moment to see the current debate around the role and importance of underinvested crops. And it's interesting looking at the tool, and I remember looking at it with Matti and seeing how different crops contribute to these different impact areas, which I think is actually really exciting. I'm a potato guy, and was always, I kind of know that potatoes contribute to livelihoods, to poverty through livelihoods, and it's kind of the crop that pays the school fees in Kenya, for example. But I remember seeing there, looking at it, thinking like, wow, onions, that sort of shoots out there. I used to work on vegetables in West Africa, and used to spend a lot of time talking about onions, and we're underinvested in onions. People go and have a look what's grown in Niger. But I think it is really interesting well, more than interesting, to be able to look across crops for the first time. And just to add, congratulations to the team. It's an incredibly powerful tool and a huge step forward, and be able to make objective decisions about where we invest our time and effort. Thank you, Enrico.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ian, for your words. I would like now to move to the next slide. I would like to introduce Matti, the lead of the Market Intelligence Initiatives, that will share a message and also guide us through the history and the future of GloMIP. Matti, floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you, Enrico. Welcome, everybody. This is really an exciting day for the Market Intelligence Initiative. So the development of GloMIP was really one of the core innovations that we proposed in our initiative. And finally, the day is there that we can officially launch it. But that said, the tool was already available for a year, almost a year, I think. And so people were already using it because the demand was so strong that we couldn't really wait opening it up. But today is like the official launch. Today is the day that we really say, okay, we're ready to really see this as a starting point. And as many digital tools, the tool is not yet complete. We're still expanding several areas, but that's how digital tools evolve. Through user feedback, basically, tools evolve, become better. They integrate more functionalities, integrate more crops. In fact, there are almost no limits to such a tool. So I would like to provide a little bit of a history. GloMIP didn't really start a few years ago. It really has its roots in history. So basically in 2013, IRI made a strategic decision, and it was really coming from the breeders. They said, we really need to take market intelligence more seriously. Let's invest in a market research team. And so basically, IRI made a very wise decision. They said, okay, such a team, what kind of expertise do we need? And they decided we need, in fact, somebody social science background, economics, marketing, gender, everything, social science, and then spatial science, because market segments are spatial in nature. Agriculture is something that has an environment. There is an environment where crops are grown. So there is this spatial nature that we need to take into account. So if we start with a team, a spatial scientist and a social scientist, that could be the best starting point. And that's how it happened. And so quite early on in 2013, we sat together and started looking at what can we do. And here, Neil Pagwirigan, whom I'm going to introduce next, was very instrumental in this first setup. So we started with the platform Information for Rice, I4Rice, basically layering different data sets, not only spatial data sets, but also data sets on consumer preferences. And we were very much focused on this market intelligence. And so breeders already had access to this tool and could use it for decision makers. Fast forward a few years later, next. So in 2018, then BMGF invested in the Agri Alliance, which is basically a Window 3 funded project. And basically, that's where we proposed to materialize market intelligence by making sure we capture the product design stage, the targeting stage, the market segmentation stage, and the final product stage, the product profiles, it was called in those days, in one platform that we can link to evidence, such that breeders have access to the evidence whenever they are looking at the market segments they're breeding for. And so that was a very valuable tool. And then eventually, let's fast forward in time. Next. Eventually, this then, let's first mention that the pandemic then hit. So many of us were working from home. Next. And this then eventually led to the start of an initiative. In 2021, I was appointed to lead the CGIAR Initiative on Market Intelligence. And so one of the things we had to do is we had to create a theory of change and a pipeline on how can we now make sure that that market intelligence that we collect is going to be transferred to product design in breeding. And so we created this internal pipeline where you can really see the starting point is really the world. We really don't want to leave out any opportunities out there. We want to look at all crops that are relevant, mostly for the global south. We want to look at the global impact challenges, the SDGs are there. And then through concrete entry point market segments, we want to study them market segment by market segment. Who are the people? What do they need? What do they want? What do they prefer? And also, what are the opportunities there? So opportunities is more like a bird's eye view. For instance, if we see there's a lot of malnutrition in a certain market segment, we can then translate that into product design. And then for the first time in history, basically, an initiative led by social scientists, but of course done through transdisciplinary teams with breeders and biophysical scientists, we had control over the product design stage. And that was very fundamental. The fact that we could influence product design. We could influence, for instance, the trade priorities in what we call a target product profile, TPP. You will hear this term a lot during the next presentations. And these TPPs, they were developed, in fact, jointly with accelerated breeding. So this was really a historical moment. All those elements then come together in what we call a pipeline investment case, basically looking at the market segments, the TPPs, and also the breeding pipelines, the feasibility of those TPPs, and then making a case for investment by donors. And this is really what GloMIP tries to capture. Next. So that internal pipeline is basically materialized in GloMIP. And then in January, we started the initiative. Next. January 2022 was the start of the initiative. And then we had a lot of help from Excellence in Breeding. So Excellence in Breeding had already done the enormous task of going to all the CGIAR breeding centers and encouraging them to start segmenting the market. Something that some centers had started. IRI started in 2018 to 2019, but other centers, for them, it was basically very new. So Excellence in Breeding did the job of scaling that market segmentation across all centers. And this then led to already a database, a pipeline investment case database that we could use. And thanks to that database from Excellence in Breeding, we were able to develop our first version of GloMIP, a predecessor of it, the priority setting dashboard, in May 2022. And since then, we've, thanks to this start, we were able to always update it and innovate in that space, thanks to this strong starting point. Next, please. So, and then in December, all the work from Excellence in Breeding, the market segments, the TPPs that they had collected among all centers, was then materialized in the breeding portal, which is basically our main sister portal that we're working with. The breeding portal is more looking internally for CGIAR management decisions in terms of breeding. And then GloMIP is then the outward-looking humanitarian face, you could say, to repeat Sonia's words, of all those breeding decisions. Next, please. And so absolutely fundamental is that both portals, they interact. So, and then in January 2023, we really started developing the global market intelligence platform. Next. And as you can see, a very small team was behind that, based in Erie headquarters, but we were working very intensely with our other CGIAR colleagues. And then in March, the database of market segments was launched. Next, please. So the database of market segments basically is the work of Excellence in Breeding, where they scaled a market segmentation approach across all CGIAR crops, 21 crops. Next, please. So then in June, the same year, last year, we did a user-centric design workshop. We started thinking of how does the tool need to interact with users. And so the first version of GloMIP, version 1.0, was launched in June 2023. Next. And then, as I mentioned, in August 2023, we started working on the interoperability of both systems. And this is absolutely key. So in the breeding portal, on the one hand, all the management decisions are made and the product design decisions. And then GloMIP interacts with the system to provide the market intelligence that is needed to optimize those decisions. Next, please. Let's move now forward to the present and the future. So in May, we published our annual report from 2023, and we featured GloMIP as one of the key results stories. Next, please. Then, of course, today is the official launch. Next. And then in July, we will have a booth at the CGIAR Science Week. Please, if you are attending CGIAR Science Week, visit us. You can have a demonstration, in-depth discussions of some of the data scientists that are behind the tool. Next. We now move towards the future. So in September, the CGIAR is developing mega programs, a new portfolio. And since we are part of the priority setting working group, we hope that many of those mega programs are going to use GloMIP for priority setting within their mega programs. But also we hope that GloMIP will be used for priority setting among mega programs. Next, please. We'll end with a few ideas of what's coming next in the coming years. So in January 2025, the mega programs will start. They will have an inception phase. And we hope that GloMIP will be widely used for strategic portfolio management in genetic innovation mega program. This is really the place where GloMIP started, and we really hope that this can bring the mega program to higher ambitions. Next, please. And then finally, GloMIP, of course, is a growing tool. There is still a lot we want to do. And here are a few ideas for the future, for the coming years. We want to move towards spatial market segmentation. It's very powerful when you spatially segment and delimit your market segments. We also want to include other food and feed commodities, livestock, aquatic foods, and so forth, trees, vegetables. We're already working with World Veg, so we really want to expand GloMIP. Also, we want to move towards consumer market segments. Why? Because some of our impacts are on nutrition, and those are, you need to capture that through consumer market segments. Then, of course, we want to invest massively in foresight, crop modeling, and climate modeling, because we really need to be able to use GloMIP as a decision-making tool for the future. And because breeding takes time, it's important that we have foresight information. Next. I think this is the end of my presentation. And I would like to hand over the floor to Neil Pagwirigan, our product manager of GloMIP. We decided that GloMIP is such an important product that we need somebody really taking care of the product and making sure that becomes successful. So please, Neil, you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matti. So just a reminder to our online audience that feel free to send your questions in the Q&A chat box. So before I start my overview of GloMIP, I want to ask a question to the audience. So if you can reply to the chat, next. So who are familiar with Lego? So we can imagine that this piece of Lego is a market intelligence data. And when we're dealing with market intelligence data, there are some challenges that we encounter. Next, please. So the first challenge is data overload. So imagine we have a big box full of Lego bricks, and sorting through this box, finding those right pieces, is also like finding a market intelligence data from various sources just to find a relevant information. And next, so complexity. As we all know, Lego comes in various shapes and sizes. So MI data is like that. So they come with different forms like numbers, text, and images. And integrating these data sets is really complicated. It's like you're building a different pieces of Lego just to form a cohesive model. And the last challenge, and transformation. So just like Lego bricks that we want to build them to like a model using a plan. So that's also what we're doing with market intelligence data. So we want to translate them into a meaningful insights and actionable strategies, but sometimes it's very timely and complex. Next, please. So we can say that market intelligence are like Lego bricks that waiting to be assembled just to form something meaningful. So now we have the market intelligence data. So how do we start from market intelligence data to developing this novel platform? So first, what we did is we did data collection. So we use crowdsourcing and we use data organization just to find the market, the correct market intelligence data, and we try to organize them in a way that the information will be very useful. And by having those data, so now we did data analysis and data visualization. Because by doing data analysis and data visualization, that's where insights come from. And that's how we try to build what we want to do for that platform. Next, please. So now we have the vision of creating that platform. It's like imagining there are kids playing those Lego sets. And it's like for market intelligence data, we're trying to involve our users as well to get their preferences for the design process. And that's how we did the user-centric design. And based on the design of GloMIP, our stakeholders and users can build their own strategies and their own preferences to get based from the key insights that they got from GloMIP. And this is really feasible and possible because of the CGIAR market intelligence and because of the transdisciplinary team that we have. That's why we created this platform we called GloMIP. Next, please. Okay. So as Mati presented, all of the data sets, the market intelligence data and information in GloMIP follow this database pipeline. And later on, you will see how these different data sets are coming in GloMIP. Next, please. So we define GloMIP as a global public platform for sharing market intelligence to inform product and technology targeting, design, and delivery, and R&D investment decision-making by the CGIAR, its partners, and investors. And right now, you can access GloMIP through this website, the glomip.cgiar.org, or you can scan this barcode and you can already access our platform. Okay, next, please. So when we build the GloMIP, these are the key features that we're envisioning. So first, we want GloMIP to be a global public good. Since I mentioned that market intelligence is very scattered everywhere and comes from various sources, so what we want GloMIP to be a one-stop shop for market intelligence, where our users can do crowdsourcing, can do generating, sharing, and analyzing market intelligence information. And again, for the purpose of product and technology targeting, design, and delivery. Another key feature of GloMIP is we want it to be an interoperable system because by doing it, we promote co-ownership with our CGIAR centers, initiatives, and partners. And also, by being interoperable, GloMIP become like a public platform for the other CGIAR platform, like the breeding portal. And lastly, we envision GloMIP to be a decision support tool. It's not just for donors and investors, but for everyone, because we really want to provide timely and relevant data, insights, and information to really guide the R&D investment decision making, and also to other works of our partners, like researchers and breeders. Okay, next. So now we all know the key features. So when we develop GloMIP, we have envisioned 6 portals, and currently 3 of these portals are already operational, which is the Impact Opportunities portal, the market segments, and the target product profiles. And later on, my colleague Bert, he will present one of the portals, which is the Impact Opportunities portal. So stay tuned for a quick demonstration of that portal. And this year, before the initiative ends, so we're going to release the other 3 portals, which is the Investor Dashboard, Impacts Dashboard, and an updated version of the product catalog. Because for the product catalog, we really want to cover not just rice, but all of the crops from the CGIAR and non-CGIAR as well. And we're working with Seed Equal to develop this product catalog portal as well. Next. Another one. So we can imagine that these portals are like different pieces of Lego that forming the Lego set. So these portals are really like a piece of puzzle completing the GloMIP platform. And without each one, the flow or the database pipeline will be disconnected. So each portal is very important and also interrelated to each other. Next. So who are our target stakeholders? So if you're a donor, investor, project lead, program manager, crop breeders, or scientists, GloMIP is really useful for you. So for donors and investors, GloMIP provides data and analytics from 200 impact indicators that can really help you with your R&D investment and guidance. And also, if you're a project leader or program managers, we have also interactive dashboards that can really help you with your resource allocation and resource mobilization. And for crop breeders, especially if you're using the breeding portal, GloMIP is very useful for viewing those CGIAR target beneficiaries. And also, you can view information on the market segments, on the target product profiles, and vital information. And on top of that, you can also scan impact opportunities across the market segments, crops, regions, and countries. And if you're a scientist, for example, you're a social scientist, you're a nutritionist, you're an agronomist, GloMIP can also help you to make your research more targeted, more impactful, and more relevant. Just give us a message if you really want to discover more on how GloMIP can really help you. And so that's our target stakeholders. So I want to also emphasize, to highlight the interoperability with the other platforms like the breeding portal. So in 2023, like Matty said, the market intelligence and the accelerated breeding decided to link GloMIP and breeding portal for the following reasons. Because we really want to make our data, the seed product market segments, the target product profiles, and the other data to be fair. So if you're familiar with FAIR, so we want the data to be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And also, being interoperable with the other systems, we want to promote partnership and collaboration with our partners and stakeholders. Next, please. So looking forward, so stay tuned to our updates that we want to release the market segments evidence catalog, where we want to crowdsource evidence for market segments. And Bert, he's the main developer of the investor dashboard that will be really helpful with the priority setting exercise that we're going to do in CGIAR. And also, like Matty said, we will venture also with the spatial market segmentation, crop modeling, climate modeling. And these are some of also the upcoming events and activities. So if you really want, you can stay tuned to our newsletter in the Market Intelligence newsletter to get more updates with the GloMIP. Next, please. So I really want to commend our team that we really promote transdisciplinary team. And it's really, from my experience, it's an honor to be part of this team and working with different centers and different initiatives to build this novel platform. And next, please. And feel free to contact us or send us an email at glomip@erie.org or scan the QR code to find more information about GloMIP. So I think it's my last slide. So I want to introduce our data scientist in GloMIP, Bert Lennartz. So he's the man behind this awesome tool, the Impact Opportunities Portal. Go ahead, Bert.
All right, thanks, Neil, for this great introduction. Before I start, again, a small reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A button. We'll try to answer either in the chat or in the Q&A section coming up later. Right. So in this presentation, I'll give a quick demo about this Impact Opportunities Portal that Neil already briefly touched upon. So before I discuss what exactly is Impact Opportunity, let me say a few words about why we built this tool. As you might know, generally, there's a scarcity of many resources. We need resources for foods, shelter, clothing, health, any different types of human needs and applications. But at the same time, we're also confronted with a limited set of resources and time. And the same is true at the CG and many other research centers. We only have a limited budget that we have to work in. So the question really is, how can we spend our dollars? Where can we spend them so we can have the highest impact? And for that, we developed this Impact Opportunity Portal to enable evidence-based priority setting. And just to make it very concrete, imagine that you have a question like, how can we make crop breeding have the highest impact on poverty, for example, to make it very concrete. Now, poverty data exists already. You might know the World Bank development indicators. Already data on poverty is available, so there's no need to reinvent the wheel and start measuring poverty. You can see the very well-known poverty at $2.15 a day. It's a very famous data set, and if you go there, you can find all of the data at country level. You can see a ranking, which countries rank on top. I think in this case, you will see some countries in Central and Eastern Africa having the highest percentage of population in dollar, again, at $2.15 a day. So you see Madagascar, Congo, Mozambique. So you can already have this list available. But one limitation, one big drawback is this data is only available at country level. We don't know yet, well, how much impact can we have on this poverty? We know the overall level, we know the kind of underdevelopment indicator that you can measure. Next slide, please. But even if we had an unlimited budget, imagine we'd be working on all different domains, education, agriculture, health, we would never be able to lift everybody out of poverty. So the underdevelopment is kind of the largest pool that we have, but the impact opportunity is really a more concrete subset of that underdevelopment, really a smaller subset, a smaller pool of that, let's say, people in poverty, which you might be impacting using your technology innovation output that you are developing. And within the CG and many research centers in agriculture, that impact opportunity lies at the intersection between, on the one hand, underdevelopment like poverty, and on the other hand, crop production or crop consumption. So really this intersection between crops and development, this is really where the impact opportunity lies. This is really the concrete evidence you need to start prioritizing your different outputs. And this is where this impact opportunities portal has really made the biggest innovation by bringing together this overlap between developments and crops. And we could even go one step further and say, okay, but where exactly is the CG breeding for, or which markets are we planning to target? And there's the next level. So you can even add a third level, which is the CG breeding activities. Now, I've already mentioned priority setting. That is indeed one application of impact opportunities. So you can use this to set priorities for resource allocation. What is Sonia hinting at this? For example, you're wondering, should I work in Africa or Asia? Which countries should I target? Which country is the highest opportunity for impact? These kind of questions you can answer using the impact opportunities forecast. But even going further, you might check, well, do we need to work on poverty, or should we shift some of the focus on climate, on environmental degradation? All of this you can also use to really position your work, position your outputs in the most impactful way possible. And in the same vein, you can also use this impact opportunities evidence to do resource mobilization. Now, you might use all of this evidence, like I'll show in a minute, to build stronger, more evidence-based proposals, increasing the chance of being funded and maybe even attracting new donors. If, for example, you've always worked in East Africa, you would like to shift to West Africa, well, we have data that's globally available, so you can use this to extend to new areas that you might not have worked in or targeted before. You can even capture some less obvious dimensions of impact, like digestive cancer. We have a lot of data available, so really would invite you to look at the data and try to build novel proposals, really go beyond what has been done before and try to see where these big impacts might be realized. And lastly, you can also use this not to only to attract or to target the big numbers, but also try to focus on the most marginalized. And before I'll give a live demo, maybe allow me to give you a brief snapshot of how this impact opportunities might look like, just an example. So you see on top, and I'll go into detail in the next minutes, there are different fields, different buttons, because we have such a wealth of data, you need to be able to customize it. We really have an enormous wealth of data across countries, across crops available. At the moment, we have data, as Ian mentioned, on 45 crops. We have 171 countries. We have 200 development indicators spanning those 5 impact areas: nutrition, poverty, equity, climate, and environment. The data is available at different levels. You can go national level, crop agnostic. You can also look at crops within a country, and you can even go to market segment. That's our own definition of target areas within the CG, within genetic innovation. You can make this data available at any aggregation level. You can stay very high up. You can say, okay, give me the data at regional level, or you can drill down to the trait level. So really a very rich type of data that you can customize as you see fit. Let me move on by giving you a live demo about how this portal looks like. So you can see the link on the screen. If you go to GloMIP, you can also find it. I'll go there now as well, so you can follow live. Right, so if you want to go to GloMIP, just go to glomip.cgr.org and then you'll be ending at the landing page. So here's the landing page. As Neil mentioned, we have different platforms. You can check all of those neat kind of overviews. I'll move straight to the impact opportunities portal. That's, I think, the main interest if you want to do priority setting, if you want some evidence for your project. So as I mentioned, you can see different types of fields that you can use to customize your analysis. So first of all, you can choose all of these 5 impact areas that you want to work on: in nutrition, poverty, gender, climate, and environment. Let's maybe stay for now on the nutrition one. And then per impact area, you can see all of the different indicators that we have collected. So we group them into different subgroups. You can see we have calorie deficiency, but also micronutrient deficiency. We have even something called non-communicable diseases, like things like diabetes and cancer, which are also becoming very relevant in many countries. We have food utilization, diet affordability. So really we invite you to really start exploring GloMIP, start exploring this impact opportunities portal and see what kind of indicators we have available. We have around 200 already available as of now. So for the first example, let's maybe stay at undernourished population. That's, I think, a fairly well-known variable. Playing a data level, as I mentioned, you can decide to stay at the national level, so no crop focus, just country level data, but you can also zoom down using national crop, really trying to bring in that crop focus, that crop dimension, or even going to market segments. Again, those are the CG target areas, which we have defined to target our breeding efforts. Again, let's maybe stay at national. Then you can select and choose how you want the data to be shown. Again, you can stay very high level at the UN region, but you can also go down to sub-region and even to country. Depends a bit on what resolution, what kind of level you want to see the data at. For the moment, again, let's maybe stay at UN region to show the first example. You can filter all of the countries that you would like to see. By default, if you scroll down, you will see we have all the different countries, all the 171 are selected by default. But if you don't like them, you can deselect and you can select a custom subset, or you can use any of the sub-regions by clicking on that one as well. So again, very customizable. You can really customize it as much as you want, depending on your application, in your case, on your work. So if you do this, you will see the output down below. So the first output is a small definition, giving some details about the indicator that you are choosing. And then it gives you a tree map. So a tree map is a non-ranked way of showing you the data. We don't like to rank a data number 1, number 2, number 3, because that's a bit, on the nose, a bit too explicit. We like to show this tree map to show the relative size of the different groups, in this case, UN regions. Then you can see quite quickly that the highest number of people with undernourishment are living in Asia. You can see more than 400 million. And in Africa, we have almost 250 million. So a very easy way to get a snapshot of undernourishment globally across different UN regions. If you go a bit further down, you can also see a map, so the same data, same colors, but if you like to see a more geographic distribution, you can also use that to get a different view of the same data. If you go a bit further down, you will see we have the same data also in Excel format. In case you want to use the numbers for a follow-up analysis, just click on the Excel button. You can download all of the numbers as well. And for those really interested in the technical information, we also give some metadata, the sources, and some other information as well, in case you want to see where the data comes from. So here's the first example. Let's maybe move on to another example, looking at crop. So let's maybe look at the different indicator. Let's maybe look at chronic hunger. That's actually a very continuous, very accurate data of the burden of calorie and protein deficiency. As you can see, some of them have a blue symbol. That simply means the data is measured spatially. So all the data is global. The blue indicator just indicates the data was measured using some kind of geospatial calculation. So let's use chronic hunger. Let's maybe go to national crop. And if you click on this one, you see more options become available, because you can also choose to enter this crop level in the data aggregation. Maybe refine UN region by going at UN region by crop. Let's add that dimension. And let's maybe stay at the same level of countries. You can see if you click on national crop, the crop filter becomes active. We have 45 crops. They're all selected by default. But again, you can choose to deselect them if you want, and then select a custom subset. Let's select everything for now. If you're done, don't forget to click run, and then go update the analysis that you want to request in this portal. So in this case, you can see that the level of chronic hunger in absolute numbers seems to be highest in Africa, linked to sorghum, followed by maize. Then you can see rice, cassava, wheat, rice, and so on and so forth. So we see quite a high focus on Africa, but you can also select which crops is actually linked to that, so more refined level than if you just look at regional data. There's no map for this. Again, the crop views cannot be mapped, but you can check the tree map, and also you can select all of the data as before, in case you want to see that. So this is an absolute number of chronic hunger, so the total burden of hunger globally. We also notice that in many applications, people ask us, can we get a kind of a normalized view of the data? For example, you can click also on the per capita data, and then you get a normalization irrespective of the size, and that will allow you to get a different view. So you see in this case, we see some other crops popping up like cowpea, groundnuts, yam again. So this normalization helps you to really focus a bit on the most marginalized by looking at a normalized view of the same indicator, again, using regional crop data. Now, this is only showing one indicator at a time. As I said, you can click on poverty, gender, you can select all of the different indicators one by one. But we also added another tool, which you call Priority Index, and this allows you to combine multiple indicators into one index, really allowing you to take a multi-dimensional view of these impact opportunities. The entry fields look the same. The only difference here is that you can select multiple indicators. Again, by default, all of them are selected, but again, you can select deselect and then select a subset if you want. You can also add weights between the different impact areas. So for example, you say, I want to give a higher weight on climate, let's say 0.3, but maybe a slightly lower weight on, let's say, nutrition, 0.1. So you can use these weights to really capture your own preferences and shift focus between the different impact areas when combining these indicators. We also have two entry fields on the right. So we also have data that is calculated for the future, 2030 or 2050. And if you want, you can also put a higher emphasis on this. You might say, I only want to check data that is future data, not current, and then you can play with this weight as well. You can select it fully to future, fully to present, or you can select it at 50, that is the default value. Something similar you can do for the user weight breadth. So as I mentioned, we have magnitude, big number indicators like population in poverty, population undernourished, but we also have what we call prevalence and depth, like for example, the percentage of population in poverty or the burden of hunger per capita. So you can also measure this kind of relative indicators, and you can give a higher weight in case you want to focus more on those marginalized, looking at the local impact using those normalized relative indicators. So let's book it back to the default, and let's maybe go to national crop and maybe select, in this case, crop. We can keep the same country and the same crop filters, and we can click run. So what is happening now is it is taking all of those 200 indicators, it is using the weights that we defined above, and it is combining them into a single index, a single priority index value that you can use to create evidence for the different impact opportunities. So in this case, you can see, again, a tree map, so the same visuals as before, but you can see the different crops using an index value. So we see, in this case, with rice, wheat, maize, cassava, banana, and so on and so forth. So really a very powerful way of combining different data sets, different indicators into one index that you can use to do this. Let me end quickly with one brief example. So I already mentioned we have market segment data. Those are the CG breeding target areas. If you click on this, you will see even a bigger subset of grouping levels. And the most detailed is the trade level. So if you click on this and click run, you can really see how different trades are linked to different impact opportunities using this focus. So it's a bit small to read maybe. I'll invite you to look at this, but you can really go from region to trade, again, customize it as you see fit. And I would invite you all to play with it and see what's available. And any feedback is more than welcome, as said before. So thank you. I'll give the word back to Enrico for the follow-up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Per. Thanks, actually, Matti, Neil, and Bert for this very interesting presentation on GloMIP. Our next activity is now to have a wellness check. So for those of you who join later, please log in on menti.com and type the code 21889650. And we would like now to get an answer from you on few questions that you will shortly see on the slide. Is to understand if you are engaged and excited about what you are learning today. You have some questions, feel free to use the Q&A section. The things are okay, or you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and need a break. Keep 2 minutes on this, and thanks while you respond. Thanks for all of you who are giving us feedback. We see that you are engaged and you are excited about that. We also recommend who's tired to have a glass of water and get energized for the next part of the webinars. Thanks for those who have questions, because this will help us to go into the next session. Please remember to use the Q&A. Some questions have already been answered, so you can see also what our experts have responded. Great, so now let's go to the next session that would share, you will see some testimonials of GloMIP, and I will pause here and ask to play short video that you will see. Thanks.
Discover what our partners are saying and how GloMIP enabled them to change their ways of working.
The Impact Opportunities portal of GloMIP is a game changer. After introducing it to the Seed Systems and Variety Improvement team, the positive feedback was overwhelming. It's an invaluable tool that's shaping our approach and decisions moving forward.
The Seed2B impact model has been integrated into the CGIAR system for data collection, analysis, and reporting of seed production, sales, acreage planted, and royalties for improved seeds. Collaborating with the GloMIP team presents an invaluable opportunity to pave the way for developing a scaling pathway for this tool, propelling its impact even further.
Global Market Intelligence Platform represents the pinnacle of innovative product development and user-centric design. The Fusion team's dedication to market intelligence and cutting-edge research shines through in every aspect of this platform. By seamlessly blending incremental product development with a deep understanding of user needs, the GloMIP team has created a comprehensive yet effortlessly navigable solution. This platform not only empowers CGIAR and NARS breeders and social scientists, and donors with data-driven decision-making capabilities, but also reflects a commitment to transforming knowledge into impactful outcomes.
Ever had a philosophical argument about which crop to work on? To fix what problem in what country? And where the biggest opportunities lie? How important is Guatemala, for example, versus Malawi for addressing malnutrition with maize versus other crops? The GloMIP team has developed an amazing tool that we're going to be using a ton in the future.
GloMIP has proven invaluable in highlighting how rice can play a crucial role in mitigating the escalating burden of non-communicable diseases in regions heavily dependent on rice as their primary dietary staple. Its user-friendly interface provides a wealth of informative resources. The website is meticulously designed, boasting aesthetics suitable for both poster presentations and journal articles. I hope that an increasing number of researchers will avail themselves of this platform for their work.
Come and be one of the many users of the Global Market Intelligence Platform, now ready at your fingertips. For more information, contact us via email at glomip@erie.org. We look forward to connecting with you.
Thanks for playing the video. Hope it was informative for those of you who were asking a question related about the use. Now I am going to the Q&A tab. You see there are several questions. Some have been already answered, so I invited you to go there and see the answer or add new ones. Maybe the first question would like to ask Bert, if you would like to answer that live, is what is the probability of false positive and false negative rate of data analysis, which is leading towards erroneous R&D decision?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually, because we have so many different indicators and they're all slightly different. And to kind of mitigate that risk, we would suggest you to combine different indicators into this priority index, because by combining different indicators, you get a more robust estimate of impact opportunities. One indicator can be noisy in certain aspects, but by pooling multiple indicators, you mitigate that risk. So that would be my answer. Try to look at the priority index and try using that one, because it will be more robust than focusing on one single indicator alone.
Thanks, Bert. There is a second question from Govinda Raj. Maybe Matti, I would ask your views. It says, this is a great resource for agricultural groups. Congratulations to all those involved. Questions on investors. Nowadays, donors ask their own relevant impact-based project. Is this platform endorsed by key donors? How many numbers, at least to get an idea? This is applicable both upstream and downstream research and delivery. CG works mostly supporting NARS, not final products, example, variety release and commercial. And so ask your views and thoughts. Thanks. Matti, over to you.
Thank you. So that's a great question. Yes, currently, already a few donors already using it because they really need it. Some donors, they can allocate their resources by crop, by region. And so they have this kind of granular approach of looking at investments. And so, for instance, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are already using GloMIP at this stage. Other question related to NARS partners, I think.
Yes, so, yeah, it says, yeah, please go ahead.
CGIAR basically provides, works with an RS partner. It's in fact, they co-develop varieties together. And so GloMIP has relevance for both parties. Of course, the global angle is probably more relevant for CGIAR because CGIAR aggregates up demand from the NARS into regions. And so that regional and global approach is more of relevance for CGIAR. But even for NARS partners, many of the data are at sub-national level, spatial level, and we want to expand that. And so even for NARS partners, they can drill deeper. They can look into specific regions within a country. So the data is definitely also relevant for NARS partners. And I don't know whether Bert has anything to add to that. Otherwise, I think I'll stop here.
No comments from me at this point.
Thanks, Matti. And maybe I will go to next question for you, Bert. Michael Friedman is asking, how can you capture the projected impact of emerging pests and disease as well as changes in climate in future scenario, example in 10 years, 20 years? And is specific enough for particular diseases dated for such changes? Example, MLN in maize, temperature increases, the impact opportunity has this level of trait details. Over to you, Bert.
Yeah, that's a great question. And indeed, at the moment, we don't have impact opportunity indicators linked to pests and diseases, given they're very customized. You have to check every crop, every disease. But we're planning to build projected benefits, assuming a certain yield increase for different crops in different market segments, different countries. And this could be used to check, well, what if we were able to have a trait on pests and diseases? What is the impact of that? So we're building different scenarios, and those scenarios could be realized by climate change adaptation, but could also be realized by breeding for different types of resistance to pests and diseases. So we try to capture this using these scenarios, which will be released very, very soon, hopefully before the Science Week early next month. So we do capture this not in an impact opportunity, but in a scenario capturing a projected benefit. So how many people can you lift out of poverty using a certain productivity improvement that might come from different traits in breeding?
Thank you, Bert. Maybe we'll have another question from Sanchez to Matti. A huge congratulations to the team. then transformative investors do not only consider a single SDG in targeting outcomes. So my question is coming from an SDG transformation standpoint, especially with emerging markets underpinned by circularity, decoupling, and leave no one behind principle. Zero waste grocery entrepreneurs tend to prioritize local farmers who practice regenerative agriculture and their suppliers. To what extent are such sustainability agents from this part of the market included or will be included in the innovation process? Does the CGIAR consider them as stakeholders? Over to you, Matti.
I think that's a very broad question, maybe not specifically targeted to GloMIP. CGIAR, in fact, has multiple mega programs, and many of the aspects are being handled in those mega programs. And CGIAR basically, every time we make an investment decision, we look at comparative advantage. And so we tend to stick to our comparative advantage and tend to invest in the areas where we have a comparative advantage, but then partner out wherever we don't have a comparative advantage. So it depends a bit on the case, but I think it's a general question. I don't see anything here specifically to GloMIP, but I think it's a general question. It depends on the case. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matti. There is another question from Ashok. Can we integrate research and development solution to the identified problems? Ashok, maybe you would like to formulate a few more details to the question there. Maybe in the meantime, I would like to ask our three presenters to share some of the questions they heard over time when they were working on GloMIP. Maybe Neil, could I start with you? You think what question they were asking to you? What did you answer over this exciting journey? Over.
Hi, Enrico. So I think one of the questions that asked about GloMIP is to have the languages. So yeah, unfortunately right now the language in GloMIP is just English, but we're trying to work on it to adopt more languages in the French and Spanish so that it can be more accessible. And also I think we have some questions. I think not in this context, but there are sometimes we have received questions based on data accessibility. So yeah, right now, so all of the data in GloMIP are accessible publicly, and we're working. So those who are really interested in using the data sets that we have in GloMIP. So right now we're also working on how to do the proper citation also of the data sets and visualizations that you can find in GloMIP as well. Thank you, Enrico.
Maybe to add something to what Neil said. So in GloMIP, we have all of this data available, partially to collaborating and link to the breeding protocol. But often we can ask, can you add a certain visual? Because people don't want to download the data and visualize it. So they ask us, can you do that for us? So if you go to GloMIP, you can see a lot of visuals. You can see how many market segments, how many area. So really try to add all of that output, all of that analytics for different users so they can use that very easy and very cheaply. And that's something we get asked quite a lot. Maybe Neil can comment on that more if he wants.
Yes. And feel free to message us or send us an email if you want some, for example, visualizations that you want to use for publications using the GloMIP data. So feel free to message us.
Yes.
Thanks, Neil. And Bert, maybe over to you. What was one of the key questions you have received during the development of GloMIP?
Well, one of the questions we kept seeing coming back was, can you add this indicator? I need to work on cancer. I need to work on diabetes. I need to work on yield. So they kept asking us, can you expand into different domains linked to development or agriculture or food? And after we told them, yeah, we have data. So I get a lot of indicators, a lot of information based on requests from different prospective users of GloMIP. So if you have any database, any dimension of development or agriculture that you think, that's missing and you have data on that, please contact us and we can consider adding that to the impact opportunities protocol as well.
Thanks. And Matti, what about you in your leadership position of the initiative, or when you were around the world in conferences and talking about GloMIP? What question reached to you?
So one typical question we started receiving early on, or it was more a comment, and mostly coming from breeders, because you have to understand breeders, they see this coming and they're worried about complexity, right? They're worried that we'll overwhelm them with data. So one of the common comments we got is why do we need so many indicators? We now have 207 indicators. Why so many? Even certain donors were sometimes a bit worried. Are we not going to overwhelm the breeders? And our response was always the same. This is data. We're trying to make as many data sets available to allow users to customize it to their needs, right? I mean, we want to really cater to different users. Certain users, they're interested in cancer data. It needs to be there. We need to be able to cater to those different users. And that's also why we developed the priority index. That's where you can strip down everything into a single index, and you can choose which indicators are being used for that index. So we understand the demand for simplicity, but we always say sustainable development is an extremely complex endeavor. If you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, there are many of them and many indicators. You cannot capture sustainability always into a single index. It's a difficult thing to do, and so there are many angles to each of the problems, and so that's usually our response. The second one is when we develop the priority index, we now allow users to put weights for the different impact areas, the 5 impact areas, but also weights for how much weight do they want to put on the present versus the future. And then thirdly, how much weight do they want to put on reaching as many beneficiaries as possible or reaching the most marginalized. So those are different options. And so the question we then often get is, what are the correct weights? And our response is always the same. There is no normative approach. It depends on the investor preferences. Certain investors, they just want to invest more in climate adaptation relative to other impact areas, while other investors may have other preferences. And this also relates to national priorities. We want to cater to national priorities as much as possible. Certain countries have certain priorities, and they can adapt that in the priority index. They can put their weight on the impact areas that they're mostly interested in. Secondly, they can put more weight on, do they want current real-time information today, or do they want forward-looking information? And then finally, do they want to reach the numbers, or do they want to reach the most marginalized, or a combination in between? So these were the most common questions that we got and our responses. Thanks, Enrico.
Thanks. And maybe just for the timekeeping, Ashok, there is a question that was already addressed before with Bert on previous intervention, but feel free then to reach out to the team. And maybe there is one last question from Rodriguez for you, Matti. Is interesting point. It says, very interesting and excellent resource. Is membership different depending on capacity of member? A consideration for sustainability, a model like pays for a data trust, or do we think donors and CGIAR can commit to fund indefinitely?
That's a very good question. We are looking into that currently. It's a very important question to ask. GloMIP is only out there for a year. So I still consider ourselves to be in a proof of concept phase in some sense, and even discovery. GloMIP is not software development. It's more a journey in discovery science. When we started up our first priority setting dashboard, we just discovered what was possible. And many of the features that you see, it was not something that we planned, but they came along. We discovered them. So we're still in that build-up phase, and we're already talking about those sustainability issues. So it's a very good one, and we look into different models. At this stage, we really want to promote GloMIP as a global public good. I think this is really essential. But over time, we will have to see what parts of it can we outsource and what parts of it we need to insource. Thanks.
Thanks, Matti. Thanks to all participants for these exciting questions. We see you are committed to GloMIP, and thanks to the presenters for their answer. I would now ask to move to the next slide that would focus on the announcement of the market intelligence webinars, and Lila, I will give the floor to you to introduce this session. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much, Enrico. Just very briefly. So the Market Intelligence webinar series was started a few months ago, actually last December. And the key reason why it was begun was we wanted to create a platform, not just for NARS and CGIAR researchers to share their recent tools, development of tools and research, et cetera, however, but also to really create a space, a virtual space for discussion amongst all stakeholders rather. Thank you very much. I see a tentative schedule that's just been shared for upcoming webinars. So really to create a virtual space where engagement can take place, such as we're seeing in this webinar, in terms of questions and answers. So to really be able to help all stakeholders involved in market intelligence to develop actionable strategies, as Neil has suggested. So we look forward to your participation in future as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lila, for this. And now that we are approaching the end of the webinars, we would like again to get your feedback and to have an evaluation again with Menti. So we would kindly ask you to go to menti.com and enter the same code 21889650 to get your final evaluation of the webinars, so we can see how we played well with the expectation. So we take a few minutes for getting your feedback. Thanks. I see evaluation is coming. Please, for those who have not logged in already, go on menti.com and type 21889650 so that we can capture your rating for today's launch. All right, so I think it's quite interesting. We see that before the launch, participants had an understanding of what GloMIP, but the launch helped because it provided a comprehensive overview of GloMIP features, and we congratulate with the presenters because now the audience feel well informed about the use of GloMIP and is motivated to explore it further. So we will see a peak in the usage of the tool. So Neil, be ready on that. You have 81 participants that would explore GloMIP in the coming days, and they will also be our ambassadors to recommend GloMIP to others. With this positive rate, I would like to give the floor to Vivian Pollard for our closing remarks. Vivian is the co-lead of the CGIAR Initiative on Market Intelligence. Vivian, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Enrico, and thank you to the team for the great presentation today. It's difficult to craft closing remarks on such a broad presentation of key topics that can be addressed by GloMIP. However, I'd like to emphasize what Neil mentioned. This is a tool that helps you put the data pieces together like a Lego. You are all invited to play with this Lego of GloMIP that has created a structure that actually helps you put the pieces together and show you the way into identifying priority areas. So initially, this was thought to inform and guide breeding decisions. However, we gradually see more and more the potential to expand to other uses beyond breeding, into other types of agricultural technology development, so we can have greater impact. This tool will help us understand how, where we can have greater impact, on what exactly, understanding the 5 impact areas, thinking about poverty, climate, biodiversity, nutrition, gender, and then craft solutions to address those opportunities. As we explore the data, as we have been exploring it, we identified also some data gaps, the need to shape future data collection. So GloMIP is also a tool that will help us close the loop, bringing the data together, but also understanding what further data needs we have and how we can shape future agenda of data collection to feed back into GloMIP and to feed in future processes. Many researchers provide recommendations at the end of papers, right? We say, all right, this is what we found, this is what we recommend. But very little those recommendations are picked up. GloMIP actually brings all of that together and helps us put those recommendations into action, into places where researchers can find the information and bring it to life. So we would like to now invite the users to continue playing with this Lego set of GloMIP and looking at the data, exploring it. The team has opened the floor for you to provide input, feedback, to request information, explore it, use it, play with it, and help us evolve this tool into the next level. Let us know when you have used it. Let us know how we can further adapt the process to make it useful for you. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to engaging with all of you in the future.
Thanks very much, Vivi. Thanks to all presenters. So have a good rest of your day and weekends, and we'll see you all on GloMIP next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Bye, everyone. Thanks a lot.